First chapter, we got introduced to a detective, this is about the dam, around the dam period. Everyone is being all crazy about the dam period, and he was sent to investigate this area. Well, a bunch of detectives from Tokyo got sent to investigate the kidnapping of a government official's grandson. And we know, because we've read, that it probably is most likely the Shinozakis kidnapped him in order to take care of the dam. Like, that's what I'm assuming, at least. Anyway, so we literally just started. So he just met Oishi-san. And Oishi told him about the village, and that's where we left. That's where we left it. Waking up in a cheap hotel in the city was by no means pleasant. I remembered even during the long camping trips we had during grade school, I wanted to get home quickly, counting the days left on my fingers. Waking up this morning, I was somehow reminded of that. Was it a need to be with my wife when she gave birth? A particularly type of homesickness? As a productive member of society, as a public servant bound to fulfill his duties, it was pathetic indeed. Those negative emotions faded as I downed my breakfast, which was surprisingly not half bad. The meeting with the informant that Oishi had provided me would be tonight. Until then, I couldn't just be lazing around. The Onikafuji Defense Alliance was protesting the dam's construction in various ways. Included in this was a strategy for improving public relations, which could be categorized into two major forms, combative and peaceful. In regards to the former, as an attempt to keep law enforcement in check, they appealed to the public's sympathy by highlighting the oppressive and inhumane tactics of the police and the brutality of the riot squads. The latter peaceful route stressed how precious the natural surroundings of Hinamizawa was, seeking people who would oppose the dam on environmental grounds. As a part of that, the village of Hinamizawa had invited celebrated zoologists and botanists, as well as environmental groups, to advertise the nature surrounding the town. According to the news, in recent years, there had been a group calling itself Hinamizawa Nature Watching, setting up free sightseeing tours. I would have liked to have taken advantage of the opportunity, but when I called the village administrative offices, they responded that it was too late to put in an application for the tour, and they were still undecided as to when they'd be doing another one. Oh, yeah. So there's no applications for next time? That's too bad. Are you a member of an environmental group? Or maybe somebody from a magazine? No, just here privately. Privately? Then you're a tourist? Something like that. It's my hobby to take pictures that display how beautiful nature can be. I read in a magazine that there were some precious nature reserves here, so I was looking forward to it. I knew there was an article that had something like that written, but I hadn't actually read it. Was it this ad-libbed lie not going to work? However, contrary to my expectations, the person I was speaking to laughed happily. Then come. The village is a little busy right now, but you're very welcome here. In that case, I'll graciously accept the offer. Thank you. How are you getting around? Car? If that's the case, could I ask for your license plate number? That's a little weird. No, there's no ulterior motive behind that. That was probably related to the checkpoints they'd set up on the way to the village. Oh, that makes sense. If I didn't give them my license plate number, I'd most likely be hindered in various ways. I wouldn't mind the new character sprites, but I like my voice acting. I mean, it's hard to do men, but my girls are spot on, if I do say so myself. I thought about using the car I had borrowed from the prefecture, but I was lost on whether it was okay to tell them that plate number. If the Onikafuchi Defense Alliance was behind this incident, there was no guarantee that they wouldn't be able to find out who I was. I had to play it safe, so I elected to refrain from using the car. No, actually, I'm not using a car. If there's a bus or something, I would prefer that. We do have a bus, actually. The route is going to be discontinued soon, though. You can take that. It departs from Okonomiya Station. Thank you very much. I'll look out for it. When will you be coming? Is it your first time in Hinamizawa? If it is, you must be unsure about a lot of things. If you let me know, I can have somebody show you around. Oh no, I couldn't ask that much of you. Don't worry about it. That's just a bit of PR we do to protect nature around the village. Judging by what I saw at the checkpoint, the villagers were at least wary of outsiders. That's why in order to move in and out of the village freely, I had to travel with somebody like Oishi, or side with the dam protests. Having an interest in the natural environment surrounding the village tied into the peaceful type of PR that the village was using. I was a bit against having a watchdog attached to me, but that might actually work out in my favor. The entire village was fired up about the dam protests, so I might be lucky enough to hear some especially candid opinions from the residents. Given that, there was no real reason for me to refuse their offer. Is it really all right? If so, that'll really help. After that, I was shown the bus schedule and directed to which bus I should get on. Somebody would come and meet me at the bus stop in the village. That's nice. After showing me around a spot I'd taken interest in, there was no doubt they'd bring me to somewhere like an anti-dam information center. Then, over a cup of tea, they tried to indoctrinate me into accepting their principles and beliefs. This is a detective, so the language is not as bad. But coming from Keiichi, some of the big words that he says, I'm just like, okay, a teenager would never say that. The world is about give and take, after all. It's like going to a timeshare meeting. If you've ever seen that South Park episode where they go to skiing and the parents like end up in a timeshare meeting the entire day, and then like they're like, no, we don't want timeshare, we want to go ski, and they're like, oh, we'll give you tickets to this premium lift, and the lift goes right back into the timeshare building. That's like exactly what I'm thinking about. All right. I couldn't be going in a suit. I pulled some plain clothes out of my travel case and changed into something more casual. Wait, what? Who? After calming down by watching some local television, I left the hotel out and set out for Okonomiya Station. The bus route that I was told would soon be discontinued certainly didn't look that way. There was more than enough trips on the schedule, and the number of passengers was by no means sparse. It was the main link to Okonomiya, the only town in the area. The types of passengers that stood out were older folk, who didn't look like they could drive, and housewives who didn't seem like they had a license. If the area was submerged at the bottom of the lake, it wouldn't matter if there was a bus route. That's why it was going to be discontinued in the unnatural scheme of things. I could catch a glimpse of the government's intent in cutting off their means of transportation to bully the village into emptying out sooner. So if you guys remember, Satoko's parents were actually on the side of the dam. Well, not necessarily on the side of it, but I can't remember exactly, but they needed the money or something. And so they were actually part of the okay side. And I think that's kind of where her sad family misfortune started from. It makes sense. According to the documents, talks between the Ministry of Construction and the locals broke down quite early. The government decided from the start to take an aggressive stance on the matter. It was like that fairy tale with the north wind and the sun trying to get the traveler to remove his cloak. Even their bullying had meaning to it. The reason why the Onikafuchi Defense Alliance resisted so violently was because the government was doing unseemly things like that. You should message or tell me how to do that. No, I have a mod. I mean, you haven't even seen sprites yet, so you can see the sprites and tell me. I was somebody who lived in Tokyo, so for a village or two out in the boonies like this to be submerged didn't seem like a big deal. But I guess for somebody actually living here, it would be a vitally huge problem. This route will be discontinued on the XX of XX. Thank you for your patronage up to this point. We look forward to your continued patronage on our other lines. XX Transportation. Guessing lazily at the notice of discontinued service posted inside the bus, I counted down the number of stops until the designated one. Along the way, we passed through the checkpoint before without stopping. They knew what time the bus was coming, so they had opened up the barricade ahead of time. From here on out was enemy territory. My palms had at some point become coated in sweat. Now arriving at Okita Waterworks. Are there any passengers disembarking? I hurriedly pressed the stop request button as the designated stop was announced. For none of the numerous passengers to be getting off here meant that it must be quite a remote place. In actuality, the stop I got off was so abnormally run down that I could tell it was barely used. As soon as I stepped out, an intense atmosphere completely different than the interior of the bus assailed my body. Right now, Oishi or Motodai weren't beside me. That's right. At the present, I was alone, in the middle of enemy territory. My adversaries probably thought I was just an ordinary tourist, but that was nothing more than a ruse. But if by some mistake my true identity was to be exposed, it brought back the terrifying words I had heard at the prefectural office, that if someone was attacked in Hinamizawa with a knife, there wouldn't be any evidence left behind. I didn't seem suspicious, did I? My clothing, currently casual, it was exactly the type of clothing that a city slicker that viewed the countryside as a wholesome getaway would wear. Camera, knapsack. Inside were various things needed for hiking. It was still only June, and maybe it was unusual, but the sun was shining down like it was already the middle of summer. That is something constant. And since we never go out of Hinamizawa, we don't know if that's just a this time of year thing. But it's in Keiichi's time too. So that's interesting. The fact that I didn't bring a hat must seem odd. No, it wasn't something to be that concerned about. It's alright, I'm just a normal tourist. Just normal. Was there anything suspicious about me? Asking that as I turned around to look at the bus that was departing. All the passengers by the window were staring down at me, silently. That's creepy as fuck. They were staring right at me, as if they had seen right through my proud little outfit, just staring, looking down on me. Countless stares rained down like needles on me from the windows opened to air out the bus. All that rained down were stares, none of them saying a word. But all the more, their silent stares told me more than a million words could. Hurry up. Go back to Tokyo, you outsider. No, There was no reason for me to speak. My quiet voice was drowned out by the sound of the engine. The bus, as if to torment me, set out slowly, and after doing more than enough to intimidate me, sped off. A thin film of sweat began to rise from my entire body. According to the documents, it was a village that seemed wary of outsiders. Its population was small as well. If they saw an unfamiliar face, they would be quick to identify that face as an outsider. On top of that, nobody else had gotten off at this stop. It was a bus stop that they just normally passed on. Somebody actually getting off there? There was no doubt that had drawn some attention. But this wasn't a slip-up. They were the ones who directed me to get off at this stop. There was nothing to worry about. I'm just nervous. This is my first undercover assignment, after all. My more seasoned colleagues referred to us as the new generation that didn't know how to lose their cool. But that wasn't true at all. In order to calm my breathing, I exhaled the unpleasant air residing in the pit of my stomach. I couldn't help but pray that my apprehensions would disappear like the white clouds of exhaust expelled from the bus. There was a small shed there to serve as shelter if it rained, and it was there I decided to wait. Inside the shed, one wall was plastered with posters advertising the dam opposition efforts. It was like the heartfelt screams of the villagers were recorded on that wall. Inside that shelter, I felt an inexplicable pressure. It wasn't like I had any real relation to the dam project, but it still made me feel hesitant about being inside there. That was just how filled with the force of denial that space was. And inside that uneasy space was a girl. Inside the shed, covered in words written in broad brushstrokes berating the policies regarding the dam and calling for action, there was a girl, sitting there, with a drowsy gaze as if half asleep. The two images clashed so much that I could only stand there dumbfounded for a moment, trapped in such a surreal environment. If I stepped inside, who knew what kind of oafish noises I would accidentally make? I couldn't disturb this girl's sleep. Having thought this, I gave up on entering the shed. It was just a sleeping kid. Why was I so worked up? Finally, I realized this girl, to us as a married couple, was the very image of our ideal child. Even after numerous examinations at the hospital, we didn't know what our child's gender was. Whether we could tell if it was a boy or girl was in the end dependent on whether or not we could get an image of their genitalia. There was, of course, no guarantee that it was a girl, but with things the way they were, the possibility was high. Even so, Yuki had been saying that the chances that it was a boy or a girl were even. But in my heart, I had already decided that our coming child was a girl. Since the day I decided that until now, it was so fun to imagine how our child would grow up that I couldn't help myself. Amongst those numerous images formed, the one that I thought would be the most ideal had materialized right in front of me. Of course, a little of it was due to their circumstances. In my ideal image, her hair would be on the short side. The girl in front of me, though, had long hair. It was almost if someone had taken my idea and made some small adjustments. It certainly wasn't unpleasant. Even so, I felt like I was sullying her just by looking at her like that. She had an a divine air about her. If this is Rita, it's going to even more affirm the fact that I think she might be Oyashiro-sama. The girl with an angelic smile with a yawn wide enough you could see her molars woke up all of a sudden. I didn't mean to peep, but locking eyes with the girl who had just woken up like this somehow made me feel like I was playing a prank on her. I wasn't doing anything shady, but I became flustered. The girl spoke. No, cried. Meep. Meep? Isn't this 7 years ago? Or 5? It said it was like 7 or 5 years ago. How is she the same age? Like that character on the show with the puppets? With the orange hair? I thought it was just one of those kids greeting kids do. So in order to prove I wasn't a suspicious person, I responded in kind. Meep. Meep. Meep, meep. The girl stared at me dubiously with a doll-like expression. Cute, but cold and hard to read. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. There was, after all, an unfamiliar man right in front of her when she woke up, who responded with meep when she said the same. I want my microphone closer. There was, after all, an unfamiliar man right in front of her when she woke up, who responded with the same meep. Suspicious. She definitely thought I was suspicious. Meep. Meep. We were both at a loss for words. No, the only one that was lost was me. The girl in front of me, as if inquiring about my motives, stared at me. In this silence, I felt like I was the one who had to say something first. Damn it. This girl was way better at interrogating somebody than Oishi. I'm not anyone suspicious. I'm... Nipa. Nipa? Nipa! What I could have only described as a cold expression suddenly blossomed into a smile, one that soon infected me. You might be familiar with the term angelic smile. To me, it was like that phrase was created just to describe the smile she gave me. The girl smiling while saying, "Ba," probably wanted me to return the favor in kind. That's right. This was a kid's form of communication. Having the other person emulate what you just did was a rudimentary form of mutual understanding. Nipa! Nipa! It was a beautiful afternoon in the early summer. What was I doing? Nipa! Nipa! Well, whatever. This was interesting in its own way. If making somebody happy with just a smile was the work of angels, then this girl was definitely one of them. I couldn't help but pray that my own child, who was soon to be born, would grow up to be just like this girl. That strangely gentle moment. What? Do not tell me that. Wait, is it an actual Japanese word? An older person waved at me from the driver's seat, a dry smile plastered on their face. She said meep first. Hey there, good afternoon. Oh wait, sorry for being late. You're the tourist who phoned yesterday, right? Huh? Yeah. Sorry to keep you. I'm running a little behind because of the farm. Hop right on in. Looks like the weather isn't going to hold up for much longer, so I'll show you around real quick. Huh? The weather? It changes fast around here. There'll probably... I'm refusing to believe that the cute little Nipa is a hint. But you never know. And even if it is, whatever. It is the cutest form of virus infection I've ever seen in my life, so. There'll probably be evening showers again today. If that happens, you won't be able to take any pictures. Come on, get in, get in. Meep. And what's meep, Anonymous? Turning around, the girl was standing right behind me with an intrigued expression. Her body language somehow reminded me of a stray cat that followed you around after you played with it a little. So cute. I'm gonna say cute, not charming. Well, if it isn't Rika-chama! Chama? I have literally never heard Rika-chama before in my life. Praise be, praise be. Also, can we once again mention the fact that this is 5 or 7 years before Keiichi comes to town and she looks exactly the same? I'm just going to mention that again. A girl named Rika with an immaculate smile and an old man praising her while rubbing prayer beads in his hands. Alright, this is confirming the fact that I think that she might be Oyashu. And by the way, oh, did I title it wrong? Oh my god, I did title it wrong. Oh my god. Oh my god, that's bad. Are you going? Oh, she's oh god. Oh my god. I can't. When they switch characters, I'm like, who's talking? And then I'm like talking in a low voice for like a cute little girl. Are you going to work, Makino? It's not exactly work per se. I was asked by the mayor to show around a young'un who came to the village to see some sights. A young'un who came to the village for sightseeing. The girl, Rika-chan, said that with a smile as she clung onto my arm. Well, yeah. I heard this village is surrounded by nature reserve, so I very much wanted to record that with my camera. Even though I look like this, I really like to take pictures. Tomatake MK2. What? Wait, does this screen look funny to you guys? Wait, hold on. Back up. Is Tomatake the name of the guy with the camera? Oh, this makes me really scared for this detective. But what? No, but what? Is Tomatake the Tomatake is the guy with the camera, is he not? This is 5 years or 7 years before Keiichi comes to the village. Huh? Oh my god. What the fuck? No, what's messing with me right now is this is 5 or 7, I can't remember. Before. This is when the damn stuff was going on. So why does Rika look, I mean, actually I really do think that she's a divine being. I mean, look at how cute she is. So I could understand that, okay? But the Tomatake thing is weird as fudge knuckles. And the other thing that scares me is this detective seems like a really nice guy who has a baby on the way, and Tomatake dies in every single version of the story so far. I don't want him to die. He seems nice. He's a rookie. He's like Leon. He's a rookie cop who just got sent here and thought that he was going to be able to go back to Tokyo because there wasn't going to be anything here. All right, anyways. Okay. Don't get it. Tomatake? Huh? Makino, is it okay if I come along too? I couldn't. You could come along, Rika-chama, but there's nothing interesting to see. You should go play by the shrine or something. Meep. A distinctly displeased expression creeped across Rika's face. Being able to show one's emotions honestly on their faces was a privilege young children had had. To be fair, Keiichi actually lived in the second one, even though that was the one he deserved to die in because he was an idiot. it's not too much of a problem. Could you bring this girl along with us too? When I said those helpful words, another smile spread across Rika's face with another neat paw as she clung to me again. Not bad at all. I want this girl to call me Dad. I change some of the words sometimes to make it sound more natural to me. No, Father. Dad? Daddy? What am I doing? Ever since I met this girl, I'm completely off my game. Just calm down. Nothing I can do, I guess. Rika-chama never listens even if you say no. Come on, hop in. I'm pretty sure he lived in the second one. I don't know how, but he got stabbed and then he woke up in the hospital. Come now, Rika, you too. The old man descended from the driver's seat and opened up the sliding door of the van, which had Onikafuchi Alliance Town Council stenciled on the side. Rika brushed me aside, dove into a seat, and began bouncing around right away. It seemed likely she was thoroughly enjoying the bouncy springs. Come now, Rika. If you're like that, our guest can't sit down. Hey, Rika-chama. So I think, you call a king or a god Sama. So I wonder if chama is like the female version of that. Rika-chama, Rika-sama. Girls are nice. I wonder if my child will play around like this too. No. It was written in the guide that raising a child, you shouldn't dote on them. Kids are kids if you don't raise them strictly without spoiling them. It's soft and springy. Nipa. Nipa. I am definitely going to be a terrible father. It was decided that I would be a doting parent before my child was even born. Well then, sir, I'll show you around some places that I think look nice. Have you eaten lunch yet? Yeah, I had a light meal at the hotel. Is that so? Well then, let's get going. We're setting off on a tour of Hinamizawa. Yay! Is it alright if I call you Rika-chan? Sure. My name's Furude Rika. I can already do an addition in the tens digit. Is that true? That's amazing. Also, for those who don't know, I actually live in Japan, so I switched the name around. I don't count on my fingers. I can do it all in my head. The way she insisted upon that was so cute. At some point, the nervousness I had about being alone in enemy territory had evaporated like it was never there at all. I had to be at least a little thankful that I met this girl. Well then, let's get going. It's time for Hinamizawa nature watching. The old man stepped on the gas with a great deal of gusto. I just had a thought. What if the Sonozaki clan is trying to control all of Hinamizawa? So that's why Rika always ends up dead, because if she's the guardian of Hinamizawa and they want to take control of Hinamizawa, then of course she would be on their kill list. This music is very boopy, boppy. And then Keiichi always kind of catches on onto what is happening, which is why he gets on their kill list. And Rika's not dad, but the priest guy was one of the one that gets killed. But still, I can't believe that the entire village... Did she murder him in the hospital? I remember Shion dying, but I don't remember Keiichi dying. Maybe he did. I feel like I would definitely remember it because I was so mad at him and thought he deserved to die. The old man, who was apparently named Makino, was he the same Makino that was listed as the auditor of the Onagafuchi Defense Lions? Showed me around a place that were all breathtaking. Even though I wasn't really here for sightseeing, I couldn't help but be impressed. Huh. I don't know why I wiped that from my mind. Can you, like, quickly Google that just to be 100% sure? First of all, this was different from the simple scenery of a city. The scenery of a charming village like this, no matter how mundane it seemed to the villagers, had a tranquil appeal to it. I remember Shion dying, but I, for some reason, don't remember Keiichi. At first, I was only releasing the shutter as part of my tourist act, but midway through, I found myself taking pictures out of pure interest. Tourist traps had their own unique allure to them, but there was nothing like that here. I was especially captivated by the unspoiled nature of the place. If there wasn't the whole uproar over the dam, I would want to bring Yuki here with me some other time. No. Oh. Maybe I remember that? Maybe it was just really quick. I wanted her to breathe in this fresh air as well as show her this rejuvenating, verdant scenery. I'm just gonna say, darling detective, there are so many beautiful places like this in Japan that are not cursed with people who want to kill pretty much everybody who is not a citizen. Go there instead with your beautiful wife and newly born child. Is something like that interesting? You're a strange person, Akusaka. No, these cylindrical mailboxes are rare nowadays. They have a certain nostalgic air about them. You wouldn't happen to think they're elegant, would you? Is Hinamizawa fun? Yeah, it's fun. Once she's discharged from the hospital, I'd like to bring my wife here at least once. With the child that we were born by that time. Right now she's in the hospital, waiting to give birth. She's due any day now. It'd be nice if she was a cute girl like you. Sir, it seems like congratulations are soon to be in order. Still, that's not good, to leave your wife and play around like this. Uh-oh. I was momentarily at a loss for words. It was exactly how Makino said. There was no good reason for a man who was waiting for his wife to give birth to be playing around idly in this place. Did I slip up? Well, we had already planned this trip to Hinamizawa a long time ago. My wife's family is with her, so it's all right. If you had this plan so far in advance, then how come you didn't make the sign-up deadline for the nature watching? Oh, good, he's getting caught out in his life. If you did, you could have toured around in a nice bus instead of being cramped up in here. It didn't seem... Oh, wait. That was Makino, not Rita. Whatever. Everything's better in Rika's voice. It didn't seem as if Makino was actually digging for anything. But if this conversation continued any longer, it would put me some unexpected holes in my cover. I halted the conversation by pretending to take another picture. Well then, for our last stop, I'll take you to the place with the best view. It was slightly before evening. The sun was still burning brightly, but a cool breeze had begun to mix itself into the air. It seemed my exploration of Hinamizawa with Rika-chan was just about done. The place with the best view? Well, Rika-chama, where else could it be but the view from around the shrine? Hearing that, Rika-chan smiled even more. Well then, I'll introduce you to my home, Akusaka. Huh? By Rika's home you mean, huh? The shrine. Furude shrine. there's an observation platform. You can see some real pretty scenery. Furude Shrine? The girl who called Furude Shrine her home, Rika. If I remember, her full name was Furude Rika. And Furude, that was one of the 3 families. Even if the Sonozaki family is said to hold all the actual power, it was still one of the old houses that held some authority. More important than that was right now was Furude Shrine. If I remembered correctly, Oishi had told me. Within the grounds of the Furude Shrine, there were the offices of the Onikafuchi Defense Alliance. And since the land around Furude Shrine were private property, the police couldn't set foot there heedlessly. Furude Shrine, where even Oishi couldn't simply set foot into. The main base of operations for Onikafuchi Defense Alliance. I had been given the unexpected opportunity to enter there. I couldn't have asked for more. I'm looking forward to it. Please, if you would. Well then, let's get there quick. The weather seems to be getting a little iffy. The sky had suddenly become overcast. It wouldn't be odd if it started raining soon. The cicadas, as if trying to finish their daily allotment of chirps before the evening, cried out even more fervently. To be honest, Kibbles, I got more and more confused every chapter. I started off thinking that it was just people, which I do believe that people are definitely a part of it. But the last chapter made me think that there was definitely something supernatural, or Keiichi is batshit crazy. But him actually being possessed is a lot more fun of a story than him just being a cuckoo nutso. The van stopped in the shrine's parking lot. Get out of here. Also parked there were numerous other vans with loudspeakers mounted on top of them to act as a makeshift propaganda vehicles. On the side of each vehicle was scrawled, "The dam project must be demolished. Defend our homeland. No Oyashiro-sama's anger." Or a slogan of a similar kind. It gave the feeling that even without the loudspeakers, there was enough to overwhelm any onlookers. Vertical banners were erected in various places. The contents of those banners were similar. They were all objections against the dam or crude insults towards the government. There were horizontal banners, placards, and so on and so forth. They proclaimed that without a doubt this was the headquarters of the Onikafuchi Defense Alliance. For Rika, however, this hectic place was also her home. "We've arrived. I'm home." Rika-chan crawled over my lap and exited the vehicle first. Makino had noticed that I was looking at protest banners. The shrine also has the offices of the anti-dam movement. For you, this probably brings back memories of the anti-security treaty conflicts back in the day. Student movements against government policies, movements that bordered on terrorist activity, were at one time commonplace, if only in order to garner global attention. Students holding out in lecture halls, brawling with the riot squads that charged in. It was an age where wasting one's youth like that was widely considered a road to glory. It was slightly before my time. I'm not really an activist or anything. I studied without incident and graduated without incident. I don't really agree with violence or occupations that use the protests the government policies. Oh, you have quite the nice opinion there. If you have an opinion on a policy, vote for the candidate who shares your view, or enter the political world yourself and assert your beliefs in lawful manner. That is the foundation of democracy. I don't think that's something you should challenge with violence. For a youngin', you have some fine beliefs. I saw that feeling of respect reflected in Makino's gaze. At that moment, something tugged at my sleeve. I have no idea what Aksaka is saying. Rika, feeling like she was the only one who didn't understand the conversation, had a look of displeasure on her face. That expression was so charming, I had to keep myself from grinning like an idiot. I think I understood that feeling very well. Sorry. It was a little bit hard for Rika to understand, wasn't it? Japan is a peaceful country, so you have to argue your point in a peaceful manner. You shouldn't resort to violence, in other words. No matter how much I explained, a girl who was just boasting about being able to carry digits over when adding things probably wouldn't understand. It probably wasn't something to talk about in front of Rika anyways. So then, Aksaka, how do you think we should keep our village from being flooded by the dam? That's the first time I've ever seen that look on Rika. Even if I regretted my careless words, it was too late now. Here I was at the main headquarters of an organization, telling them their way of doing things was illegal, preaching that violence was not the answer. A complicated feeling had mixed itself in with the respect in Makino's gaze. It was then I finally realized. It wasn't that simple. There wasn't a soul who would argue that what I wasn't saying wasn't correct. Using violence to get one's way was something that everyone knew you shouldn't be proud of. However, right now, Hinamizawa was in a predicament that couldn't be overcome with peaceful means alone. The legality of the Hinamizawa Dam project, through the efforts of the various propaganda campaigns enacted by the Onagafuchi Defense Alliance, was being called into question. If they further strengthened their campaign, they might be able to suspend or change the construction plans. But that was, at most, just a possibility. If the government proceeded with the construction as planned, it wouldn't be long before this place was at the bottom of a lake. If it wasn't for the unrestrained resistance of the residents of Hinamizawa, this place might already have been underwater. We can't live anywhere else other than here. We can't live in the city. The way she phrases that makes me feel like they physically can't. The words of this remarkably young girl were all too accurate, carrying with them the screams of the hearts and minds of the residents of Hinamizawa. Of course, there was nothing I could say to respond to that. I could only respond to Makino and Rika-chan's heavy words with silence. I'm sorry. This isn't a problem that an outsider should lightly poke his nose into, is it? I'm sorry. Makino, unsure of how to reply for a while, could only laugh pointlessly. It's nothing that concerns guests to make their home somewhere else. You enjoy it here. Please tell all your friends that Hinamizawa is a wonderful place. Please. If word spreads to dozens, maybe even hundreds of people, then that ridiculous plan to submerge this place at the foot of a dam will eventually fall apart. He followed that with a smile that said, please don't think of much of it. Makino, letting me not worry that much, really was a good stroke of fortune. Becoming infatuated with the idea of making friends with a little girl had me completely forgot my apprehension at being in enemy territory. Being reminded of this right before I was going to step foot into their headquarters might have been a good thing. If we'd had this exchange in the middle of their office, if there was short-tempered youth in there, they may have come at me. Thinking of how extreme they were, in the worst case, my life could have been in danger. It seemed that I looked quite despondent at that moment. Makino, thinking he said something wrong, became flustered, trying to think of a way to improve my mood. I was a bit careless now. I'm sorry. No, don't worry. The sights you showed me around the village were all beautiful, wonderful places. I really do want to come here one more time. If this beautiful village is going to be submerged at the bottom of a lake, I can understand why you would fight so desperately. I had somehow managed to use my despondent look to change the topic in my favor. After a bit, Makino returned to his usual high spirits. It seemed he believed I completely sympathized with his point of view. Now, let's leave the talk at that for now. There's a place around here with a really good view. Let's go, Aksaka. Rika, seemingly happy to be free from all the boring and gloomy adult talk, bounded up the stone steps. There was no real need to run, but in order to catch up with her, I also darted up the steps. There were several tents belonging to the town council erected on the shrine grounds. Inside the tents were several folding tables and chairs, and a number of other town council members were livening things up with chit-chat. They weren't saying anything incendiary like, "The damn project must be destroyed." It was just some relaxed, idle chit-chat between local geezers. Ji-chans. Ji-chan. Ji-san. The normal sort of calming scenery. At the entrance of a shed that looked like a meeting place was a large sign erected with Onikafuchi Defense Alliance Headquarters, written in bold brushstrokes. That was their base of operations. To be honest, it was a bit of a letdown. If you asked what I had been imagining, this is a bit embarrassing, but I'd have thought it would have been something much more dramatic. With barbed wire fences, barricades. My first impression of the place, though, was completely different from that. It looked like a simple, backwater town hall. It didn't look anything other than exactly that. The old folks who were chatting had noticed Rika-chan's presence. Well, if it isn't Rika-chama, it's time for little kids to head on home. This is my home. The old folks guffawed. Old fox? I think there's supposed to be an L there. Since she wasn't wrong. From that exchange, I could tell that this Rika girl was loved by everybody. Makino, who's that? The tourist who phoned? That's right. This is the mayor. Oh. See, sometimes I never know who's talking until they tell, and I'm like, oh, they said old geezers, okay? This is the mayor of Hinamizawa, Mayor Kimiyoshi. He smiled brightly, but there was no mistaking he would be scary if he got angry. By the looks of things, this old man was the president of the Onikafuchi Defense Alliance, none other than Kichiro Kimiyoshi himself. Welcome to Hinamizawa. What do you think? It's quite a relaxing place, is it not? Yeah. I was able to appreciate a multitude of beautiful places throughout a whole day. I'm thankful for being granted this rare opportunity. Even though you're one of those young'uns, you're quite the gentleman. Kichiro, I want to show Aksaka a cool place. Thinking that the formalities between myself and the mayor had gone on for too long, Rika butted into the conversation. For her to call the mayor by his first name, it was a little strange, but none of the villagers seemed to mind. A girl of the Furude household, one of the 3 families. She was probably different than the average villager. Aksaka, over here. Rika-chan tugged at my sleeve. I love that theory, Kibbles. But when did Mirion die? And also, if that's the case, then when did Keiichi die? That would be awesome. But because Keiichi starts Like, nothing happens to Keiichi before in the 3rd chapter. Not resisting, I allowed myself to be pulled over, and waiting for me was a magnificent view. This is amazing. It was an observation deck that looked down on the entire village. They, knowing that this was the best view in the entire village, kept quiet as I stood there awestruck. I was holding a camera, but had completely forgotten to even glance through the viewfinder. This view, no matter what kind of film it was printed on, it wouldn't be able to show everything. If there was a way to explain it, it would only be what I would be able to put into words. It was so breathtakingly spectacular that I struggled to find a comparison. For a while, I was left awestruck. I could only stand there and wonder. Oh, you're right. You're right. But remember that a twin thing is going on in that chapter. And I have a feeling that one twin was the other twin at some point. Or vice versa. A cool breeze helped abate the heat rushing through my body. That comfortable sensation also left me speechless. Rika, who had been holding onto my sleeve the entire time, spoke. "This is my favorite spot." As she said that, she showed me another adorable smile. That smile seemed very fleeting. If you ask why, that's because the view from her favorite spot would eventually be submerged under the deep green waters of the dam reservoir. I just can't believe that this village is going to end up at the bottom of a lake. I said it quietly so that only Rika-chan could hear it. I regretted it as soon as I did, for those words were all too cruel. However, Rika didn't let them cast a cloud on her expression. In fact, she replied with a smile. "It won't sink. The dam project will definitely go away." "How do you know that?" It was just like a little girl to say something like that. I never take anything that people say in these books for granted. Ever. Including the line that Keiichi said that he's in a coma. That's true. And there was no basis for her saying so. It was just her wish. "Aksaka, do you think that this village will be submerged?" It's not that I want it to be. I knew how important the dam was. I knew it was necessary. I just didn't want to recognize the sacrifices that would be made. I agreed with the project in general, but couldn't agree with some of the details. But if it meant that this girl's beloved scenery wouldn't be taken away from her, I might be able to object to the dam. I might be able to ignore the interests of the nation, the development of Japan, all for the sake of one girl's smile. I'm not really much of a humanist, but how sentimental of me. It won't be submerged because the dam project will soon go away. That was Rika. You know, it's interesting that you mentioned time travel because I was saying that it kind of reminds me of Steins Gate, if you've ever watched Steins Gate. And the thing that makes me think it's Steins Gate-y is like Keiichi's like resetting. And they say that it's hotter than it should be for this time of year. And remember in Steins Gate how it was colder, and that was due to the effect of him time traveling so much that he like messed up like the atmosphere. I don't remember the exact part, but like he messed it up so like it was actually like September, but it was still August because he kept time traveling. And what if Rika is resetting Keiichi? As if she was talking about an unchangeably predetermined outcome. As surely as the sun rising in the east. It'll be gone soon? Wanting to ask her why she believed that, I turned around. Yes, it'll be gone. What makes you say that? Well, you see. She seemed to want to answer, but as though unable to find the right words, she swallowed back what she was about to say. Regardless of what Aksaka does, the dam project will end this year. It's already been decided. That was a lie. If something like that had been decided, then the Onagafuchi Defense Village would have no reason to continue existing. From my point of view, it was like they were doing nothing more than throwing themselves into an endless battle. If they knew the dam project was canceled, it would feel much more relaxed around here. This village, though, could hardly be called relaxed. For evidence of that, I just had to remember how charged the atmosphere was at the checkpoint or at the bus stop. The villagers, with their misplaced resolve, were still fighting. And this girl, even knowing the villagers' grim resolve, had already declared their victory. The villagers throwing themselves into this endless war, and this optimistic girl who said they already won. The contrast was somehow strange. Why do you think that? If you know something that makes you confident, could you tell me? Seemingly choosing what to say. Because? She looked like she was lost on whether she could continue or not. As if she was troubled on whether it was okay for her to say it. That kind of expression. It's already been decided. There's no other way to say it. It's already been decided, huh? It really is just like a little girl to say something like that. I couldn't believe it was actually true. She was the only one saying things with such confidence. My real mission that I had forgotten about during this fun-filled day resurfaced at the back of my mind. The kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Had the Onagafuchi Defense Alliance kidnapped the minister's grandson and already succeeded in negotiating the cancellation of the dam project? Did Kimiyoshi already know that and was just playing dumb? Was that what this girl was really trying to tell me? Aksaka. The girl called out my name suddenly. What is it? Oh my god. That face on Rika is not a face I like to see. Go back to Tokyo. Huh? I wasn't only surprised at that sudden command. Ever since I came to this village, I had never once mentioned I was from Tokyo. Well, based on my accent, she might have been able to guess where I was from. What was I getting so worked up over? It was probably the sudden and complete change in her demeanor. You should definitely go back to Tokyo right away. If not, you will regret it. The girl had been holding my sleeve the entire time. Okay, she's definitely either time traveling or seeing into the future. She'd been tugging at my sleeve since hurriedly dragging me over to show me this wonderful view. But this was the adorable Rika, who I'd spent the entire day with. There's no way she could have been replaced with a doppelganger when I wasn't looking. She had been holding onto my sleeve this entire time, but somehow this girl was someone other than Rika. She looked like Rika, but she wasn't. She was some girl I had never met before. This girl had told me in an indifferent voice that I would regret coming to this village from the bottom of my heart. That would be an incredibly pathetic thing to see. Oh, wrong person. So I thought I'd warn you right now. Why would I come to regret it? Stop whining. I couldn't believe I was hearing such cold words come from Rika's mouth. I just couldn't believe it. Was someone impersonating her? Using ventriloquism or something? Thinking that, I wanted to take a look around, but the girl's gaze had me pinned down, making me unable to move. When you tried crossing the road when the "Don't Walk" sign was up, did your parents finish explaining why it was dangerous before pulling you back to the sidewalk? They'd pull you back right away, wouldn't they? They'd pull you back before explaining why it was dangerous, wouldn't they? In other words, it's something like that. The girl I had spent time with, Furude Rika, would not speak like this. She would speak with a cuteness befitting her age, with brief, childish remarks, expressing her emotions honestly. She definitely wouldn't speak with such pointed words. I've warned you. Don't get the wrong idea. It's not like I'm saying this because I hate you. You don't need to tell someone who's better off dead that they're in danger. Who are you? You're not Rika. As soon as I accused her of not being Rika, she let out a strange, quiet giggle. If this is Oyashiro, her, is still warning him of danger, right? It was a laugh not befitting a child of her age. It was like she was possessed by something. Her change was just that, total and complete. Was Rika being attacked by some terrifying phenomenon? The occult idea came to my mind without any sort of hesitation. Rika's acting strange. Somebody, help! Thinking that I'd yelled that, I turned to where the mayor was. I immediately realized he was looking at us with a smile. That's right. To him, it looked nothing more than me and Rika fooling around. He didn't notice there was something terrifying happening to her. Aksaka is such a coward. The girl had obviously grasped that I was afraid. Noticing that and calling me a coward, she laughed again. That cackling girl, approaching me in a strange manner while still laughing, lost her balance and fell flat on her face. She fell. If it was just a while before, I would have extended a hand to help her out without hesitation. But now, extending a hand to this ominous girl who looked like Rika, but wasn't, required a bit more courage than I had at that moment. Meep! The girl cried out thus. She then squirmed upright and dusted herself off. Afterwards, she looked around restlessly as a blank expression crept across her face. You've got to be kidding me. Was she making fun of me? That way of acting. It was as though, after being possessed by something, she lost her memories. You're joking, right? Rika? Meep. I don't know if Rika had heard me or not. She just cried like that, as if questioning herself. Hey, mister? Rika-chama, too. Tea's ready. There's some snacks, too, so please come and have some. An old lady wearing a smock was waving energetically from the entrance of the office. Hearing that there were snacks, Rika's expression changed. Yay! A carefree smile. That was a familiar smile. The one that belonged to the embodiment of my ideal daughter. Any hint of the creepy girl that was just there spouting sinister words had vanished. Come on, Rika-chama, wash your hands. There aren't any manju here for dirty hands. I'll wash them real good. Meep. Rika responded with vigor, running off to the washing station that was alongside the office. She stopped halfway, turning around to call me. If Aksaka doesn't hurry up, I'll eat his share of manju too. They're steaming fresh. People who don't wash their hands aren't allowed to eat manju. No matter how you looked at it, that was Rika. Those words, the way she said them, no matter how you heard them, they were definitely Rika's. Come on now, mister. You're the adult here, so show her how it's done. The old lady urged me to wash my hands. Without any resistance, I lined up beside Rika at the wash station. Splish splash. I stared at Rika, intent on washing her hands properly like she had probably learned at school. Meep. Did I do something wrong? Huh? By wrong, you mean how I'm washing my hands. I only got 4 gold stickers for it. I'm probably bad at washing my hands. You're not doing anything wrong. If you're washing them carefully, that's more than enough. But it's not, Akasaka. If you don't use a brush and clean out the dirt underneath your fingernails, you won't get a gold sticker. Rika, you're very diligent. That's something to be proud of. I was praised by Aksa. No matter how you looked at it, it was Rika. There was no trace of that girl from before. Exactly what was that sinister girl? Rika, what was the meaning of what just happened now? Just now, you told me to go back to Tokyo, didn't you? Did I say that? I was at a loss for words. She didn't remember what the girl just now had said? Like I would ever believe something as occult as that. Like I would ever believe that Rika could be possessed by that strange girl and say those creepy things. So this is the prologue. Well, this is actually the prologue. And so the other characters are not in this part because they're not actually, well, they might be here, but they're not here yet. Rika, you definitely said that. Meep. Her expression told me that, despite my saying so, she had no idea. She wasn't playing dumb. She actually didn't know. Exactly what was that just now? Just as Rika had, I let a look of confusion creep across my face. The two of us, both looking like we had no idea what was going on, must have certainly been a humorous sight to behold. While partaking of tea and snacks, I was shown a propaganda film shot by the Defense Alliance that highlighted their resistance efforts. Older folks talked passionately on how long and grueling the fight against the dam was, but they fell on deaf ears. I was transfixed by Rika, who had heard these stories countless times before and was nodding off. Eventually, Rika noticed I was staring at her and smiled as she rubbed her eyes. That smile was Rika's, after all. There was no hint of that sinister shadow. After that, my unreasonable fear of Rika lessened with the passing of time, but I could not forget what had happened. It eventually grew dark. The mayor said they had to prepare for dinner, but I said I would come again tomorrow and took my leave. I had to return to the hotel and file my regular report with the section chief. I see. Well then, please come again tomorrow. If you phone, we'll send someone to pick you up right away. I appreciate your hospitality. I'll probably come and enjoy myself again tomorrow. Yes, please do. It seems that Rika has taken a pretty big liking to you. Aksa, are you coming again tomorrow? I finish after 5th period, so if you could come around 3 o'clock, it would make me happy. Please come again. That pure smile urged me to do so. There wasn't a trace of that evil aura. Depending on what happened next, all that might end up as nothing other than my hallucination. Thinking about it logically, if the daughter of the Furude household, one of the 3 families, had taken a liking to me, then this was a strong foothold for my investigation from here on out. It was like a free ticket for a reason to visit Hinamizawa. If only I could treat this little incident as a figment of my imagination. Then having this girl, who was the embodiment of my ideal daughter, grow so attached to me wasn't bad either. I had successfully dove into the belly of the Onikafuchi Defense Alliance, and the mayor, as well as other important members of the alliance, welcomed me with open arms. This was a great turn of events. However, I still felt uneasy. Getting back to the hotel, I forced down an almost painfully cold beer until I could clear my mind. The shock from that incomprehensibly strange incident continued to torment me. I never know when the goddamn end of the chapter is going to come, so I can't leave it off with a creepy voice. I think it's going to continue, so then I have the continuing voice. Also, I want to point out 2 things. 1, Rika was not as scary as the other girls when she was creepy, and it wasn't even that creepy. And 2, she was warning him. And we will see you guys later. Adieu.